In 2004, a neuroscientist named Michael Merzenich made a prediction that most of his colleagues thought was alarmist. He said that within one generation, the internet would fundamentally alter the structure of the human brain. Not metaphorically, literally, at the cellular level. Nobody took it seriously. 20 years later, the evidence is no longer a prediction, it's a measurement. A 2023 study published in PLOS ONE tracked the brain scans of adolescents over 2 years. The ones with the highest screen time showed measurable changes in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for attention, impulse control, and the ability to feel satisfied with ordinary life. Not behavioral changes, structural changes. The brain you were born with and the brain you have right now, if you have grown up with a smartphone, are not the same brain. The question isn't whether this is happening. The question is, what exactly did we trade, and is there a way to get it back? Here's what makes this conversation difficult. We are being asked to think critically about the tool that has degraded our capacity for critical thinking. That's not a metaphor, it's a documented cognitive loop. The average person now switches between tasks or apps every 47 seconds. In 2004, before smartphones, the average was 2.5 minutes. That's not distraction. That's a rewired attention system. And here's what nobody tells you about that shift. It doesn't feel like deterioration. It feels normal. It feels like the way things are. Because neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, works in both directions, and it makes you better at what you repeat. And what most of us are repeating hundreds of times a day is the act of fragmenting our own attention. We are training ourselves to be unable to focus, and the training is working. But here's what the research also shows, and this is the part worth staying for. The same neuroplasticity that created the problem can reverse it faster than you think. 1. What your phone actually does to dopamine. You already know about dopamine, but what most people get wrong is what dopamine actually does. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical, it is the anticipation chemical. It is released not when you get the reward, but when you might expect it to come. This is why you unlock your phone when there is nothing new on it. Your brain isn't looking for content, it's chasing the possibility of content. The maybe, the what if there is something there. Neuroscientist Kent Berridge calls this the wanting system, entirely separate from the liking system. Wanting and liking are processed in different parts of the brain by different chemicals, and the wanting system has no off switch. Every notification is a variable reward. Every scroll is a slot machine pool. The intermittent, unpredictable nature of social media feeds is not an accident. It is the most addictive reward schedule known to behavioral psychology, the same mechanism used in casino design. The difference is that the casino stays in Las Vegas, your phone goes everywhere, and every time you respond to that pull, every time you pick up the phone because of a feeling rather than a need, you reinforce the neural pathway that makes you more likely to do it again. Faster, more automatically, more compulsively. 2. The attention tax you didn't know you were paying. In 2001, psychologist Linda Stone coined a term that has only become more relevant with time: continuous partial attention. It describes a state that most people now live in permanently. You are never fully in one place. You are always half monitoring for something else, a notification, a message, an update, something that might be more important than what's in front of you. This state feels like multitasking. It is not. It is chronic vigilance, your nervous system running a permanent background scan, and it has a measurable cost. Research from the University of California, Irvine, found that after a digital interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes for the brain to return to deep focus. Not because the interruption was significant, simply because it happened. So when you check your phone 3 times during a work session, which is below average, you have effectively eliminated deep focus from that session entirely. The 3 interruptions cost you more than an hour of cognitive recovery. You were never distracted, you were drained. There is a difference, and it matters. The tiredness you feel at the end of a day spent on screens isn't physical fatigue. It's the exhaustion of a brain that has been paying the attention tax without a break for hours, without ever going deep enough on anything to feel the satisfaction of completion. 3. What you've lost that you don't know you've lost. This is the part that nobody talks about because you can't miss something you don't remember having. There is a cognitive state that is becoming increasingly rare in the modern world. Psychologists call it deep boredom, and unlike regular boredom, which is unpleasant, deep boredom is one of the most productive states the human brain can enter. It is the state that precedes insight, creative breakthroughs, the sudden connection between two ideas that had no obvious relationship, the answer to a problem that you weren't consciously working on. Deep boredom requires one thing: the absence of external stimulation for long enough that the default mode network, your brain's internal processing system, activates fully. The average smartphone user checks their device within 30 seconds of feeling any discomfort, boredom, or restlessness, which means the default mode network almost never gets the runaway it needs. You are not just losing focus, you are losing the mental space where your best thinking happens, the ideas that used to come in the shower, on a walk, in the quiet before sleep. They are being systematically crowded out by content that leaves nothing behind. You scroll for an hour and close the app feeling vaguely worse, not because the content was bad, because your brain needed silence and you gave it noise instead. 4. The recalibration. What the research shows. Here is the most important thing the research shows, and the reason this video exists. The brain changes quickly in both directions. A study from the University of British Columbia found that participants who reduced their smartphone use to 30 minutes per day for just 1 week showed measurable improvements in focus, mood, and cognitive performance. 1 week. Another study published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology found that simply having your phone in the same room, even face down, even silent, reduces available cognitive capacity. The brain is using resources to resist checking it. Remove the phone from the room entirely, and performance improves immediately. Not over weeks, immediately. This tells us something profound. The rewiring is not permanent. The brain is not broken. It is responding, rationally, to the environment you have created for it. Change the environment, and the brain follows. 5. The minimal effective dose for digital recalibration. You don't need a digital detox. You don't need to delete your apps or move to the mountains. You need what researchers call environmental design, deliberate changes to the conditions under which you use technology rather than relying on willpower to use it less. Willpower is a finite resource. Environment is a permanent structure. 3 changes backed by research that produce measurable results within days. First, charge your phone outside the bedroom. The first and last 30 minutes of the day are when your brain is most plastic, most susceptible to setting the tone for attention and anxiety. Starting the day in reactive mode in someone else's notification shapes the entire day's cognitive pattern. Second, create one phone-free block of 90 minutes per day. Not to be productive, not to meditate, just to let the default mode network run without interruption. This is when your brain processes, consolidates, and creates. It cannot do this while monitoring a screen. Third, remove social media apps from your phone entirely. Access them only from a computer, at intentional times. This single change has been shown to reduce compulsive checking by over 60% within 2 weeks. Not because you are more disciplined, but because the friction of opening a laptop introduces enough of a pause for the conscious brain to ask, do I actually want this right now? Usually, the answer is no. You wanted the habit, not the content. Michael Merzenik's prediction in 2004 wasn't alarmist, it was accurate. But he also said something that got less attention. He said the same plasticity that makes the brain vulnerable to degradation makes it capable of recovery. The brain is not a fixed organ. It is a living system that responds to what you ask of it. If you ask it to fragment its attention 100 times a day, it will become very good at fragmentation. If you ask it for silence, real silence, sustained silence, even for 90 minutes, you'll remember how to go deep. The phone didn't break your brain, it just changed what your brain practices. And practice, in the end, is everything.